Hi, everybody. This is the official Pengy Chase Ogre team report, featuring none other than Stefan Mott, Chase Matteo, and then me, the adopted Kyogre player. This is more so their team report. I'm acting as a moderator because I got adopted, but I kind of want to dive into things here. Starting with like Reg G 1.0. I'd love some background on it. But yeah, if one of you wants to take the stage, go ahead.
Yeah, so I built the sort of the skeleton of this team at the very beginning of Reg G. When we came into Reg G, um, I hit up my friend Nick Donnelly, and I was like, "Hey, you just did really well with like Tail Room, Blood Moon, or Saluna stuff. What if we did that with Kyogre? Like, I feel like it could work really similarly." So we worked for like about a month and a half on sort of the OG team, which was five of the same six Pokemon that we ended up having on this team. Basically, it was Kyogre, Torn, Ursh, Tsarina, Chenpao, Golden Go. And it was really good. I got top eight in a VR tour. I only lost to Jamodri, who won the tournament. And then going into Indy, it was really cool. I really liked the team. It was a bit of a bulky Kyogre. The tail room concept died after a while because like Farigiraf was weird and like we weren't ever really clicking Trick Room. Basically, like because Torn is Prankster, you lose the opportunity to go like Trick Room mode, and then on the last turn of Trick Room, you click Tailwind, and then you basically have 7 turns of speed control. You kind of miss the ability to do that. So it just wasn't really coming up all that much. We replaced it with Zarina, and then going into Indy, it was fine. Like it was pretty good. I got day two, and then in day two, I won 4 of my 5 matches. I ended up top 16. But I played two Miraidon players, and one of them I needed to play out of my mind, and the other one was Aaron Trailer, and it was not close. Because this team with the Golden Go has absolutely no Miraidon matchup. Like it was not a consideration. It was not a real Pokemon in the run up to this tournament. And coming out of the tournament, I was like, well, that was fun. Anyway, Miraidon's the number one Pokemon now, so this team is garbage. And I did not use it again for a long time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the not like the thing that nobody expected was Miraidon. I think
Mhm.
was it Rajan that
Yeah.
won that? Okay. Yeah, when Miraidon won, I think everyone was like, "Holy crap, this is like no one is testing Miraidon right now. That's crazy." And then
Mhm.
like all these months later, like Arubega and then every other ladder player, it's like, "Okay, cool, it's Miraidon." But
hmm
yeah, Chase, what about you? What's your background with Kyogre?
Yeah, so Reg G was the first restricted format that I attended regionals or majors at, and I had been following the meta. I think Stefan's team, it kind of going into Indy had been circulated a little bit, and I maybe not the exact one, but I used a team similar to him, um, and I ended up going 6-3 and losing my win in, but um, yeah, similarly, like was not prepped for Mariah or anything like that, um, but Kyogre had just always been my favorite restricted, and I've always really liked Rain archetype. So I thought I was like 8 points away from my Worlds invite there. So I was kind of just like, let's play a fun team and try to get my Worlds invite. So that's kind of what I did at uh, Indy. Yeah,
Most
I just
stressful
looked
eight
it up.
points.
I looked it up. You used the six from the VR tour, yeah. So
that
you
checks
had
out.
the
That
King
checks out.
Gambit instead of the Golden Go.
Right, and I did. I yeah. So that sounds like I got it from your team. I honestly didn't even know that until you said that right now, but I definitely believe it because I know that team was kind of a little bit popular. And um, at NAIC, I used a different team, kind of moving ahead on the Kyogre route, but because I kind of at NAIC I had my invite, but I still kind of wanted to roll with Kyogre. Um, and but the team there had a. I actually switched over to Serena. Or no, I was still using Serena. I switched out. I was using Volcarona and Fluttermane, and then it was Chien-Pao, Urshifu, Tornadus, Kyogre. So those were the six. And I started 5-1, and then it kind of just bombed out from there. Um, and from that point, I kind of worked towards the team that I ended up using at Worlds.
I think that's a good segue. I was actually gonna ask, what prompted specifically you, Chase, to bring Kyogre to Worlds? I know Gazpacho came, and I think it's Mung Doll. I think it's Mung.
Yeah, no, Mugdoll,
Yeah.
the Tornadus and Gazpacho, the Kyogre, which
My
you were super helpful
sons.
to get me zero attack IV. Yeah. Anthony was huge for helping me get the zero attack IVs because I honestly didn't. It was my first Worlds, and I was just kind of like, let me use optimal Mons essentially. And foul play was definitely a thing, and what confusion and all that. So I was like, why not try? But yeah, I think at that point I was just very comfortable with Kyogre, and I've kind of felt this way since Reg D, where Urshifu is kind of the most broken mon in the format. And what makes Urshifu just busted is rain, and Kyogre just can kind of set up really easily and whatnot. So, um, let me share my screen actually, if I can try that. Exclusion. There's this window. Do you guys see my screen now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so this was the world team that I used, and it ended up being
Hold
the
up,
only
it's on
difference is
Discord.
oh rip. Uh, what about now?
That's still Discord.
Yeah, you have to change the screen for it. It's under like where you start streaming.
Change windows. Add windows. Okay, add this window.
There we
Did
go.
that work?
Beautiful. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, sorry about that. You can cut that down or not. I don't care.
Yeah, I can edit it out. That's fine.
This is the Worlds team that I ended up bringing to Honolulu, and I think going into Worlds, I was so comfortable with Kyogre, as I mentioned, and Urshifu was so broken that I really wanted to use it. Fortunately or unfortunately for our local scene, every single person was running Maridon, and I was also just doing a bunch of testing on the ladder. And like Stefan kind of mentioned with his experience at Indies, Maridon was unwinnable. I kind of landed on these six and was practicing them quite a bit. I had always just kind of run the 252 modest Kyogre. The Urshifu I was running was a little bit slower, but it was just max attack, adamant, mystic water, Terra water, just like absolutely plummets through things in the rain. Had the Gen Pal, the Rillaboom, which wasn't Terra Ground when I was starting, and then Farigiraf and Torn. Um, and I was doing really well with it, but I could not win a Maridon if it was like 1100s best of three or like 1600s best of three. I just could not beat Maridon. And then I honestly just put Terra Ground on Rillaboom. I had tried like Landorus, I had tried out Serena, but I didn't love it at the time. But once I put the Terra Ground on the Rillaboom, and then I got it close to max attack because it gave a really favorable roll on Maridon, up close to like 90% OCO. It kind of just fixed the matchup completely at the time, and I was almost felt like I was winning every ladder set. And I won like I locals at one point up before Worlds because they started up locals last year for the 2025 seasons before 2024 Worlds. I think I played 7 Maridon in a row, and
Good
at
God.
locals, it was insane. And I think I won all 7. So I was feeling really good, and some of them were really good players like Joe Zhang, and Dan Reyes, and a few other like a good player. So I felt really confident going into Worlds with my Maridon match. Of course, at Worlds I didn't play any Maridon, but that's besides the point. I think it fixed a matchup that I wouldn't have brought this team to Worlds unless I had found a Maridon matchup.
Right.
And so yeah, essentially that's kind of where I landed on this team. Worlds didn't go my way, unfortunately. The team definitely had some issues. The centerpiece of the team was definitely kind of setting up Urshifu. A lot of times I would try like do Torn Kyogre and then have like Urshifu Farigiraf in the back, and I would be okay losing kind of Torn and Kyogre really quick if it meant getting Urshifu next to Farigiraf in the rain with speed control, because uh, basically Helping Hand, Terra Water, Surgeon Strike just OHKOs like everything. OHKOs every Rillaboom, OHKOs all the Raging Bolts that were popular at the time of Worlds. Helping Hand, Terra Water, Surging Strikes, Mystic Water, and the Rain. It was Oko into like almost all of them, which was just kind of insane because I hated that mon so much. So that was kind of like the game plans I would often play around, kind of like the basic. But going into Reg G 2.0, I honestly just I wasn't super. I didn't think I was going to play Kyogre again. I thought I was honestly going to play Miraidon and kind of just grind that out. Um, but going into Reg G 2.0, after I was practicing Miraidon a lot, I just wasn't kind of hitting. And Anthony and I were coming off like some of our best finishes. I had got top 16 with a rain team at Sacramento. He was coming off a top 16 at Toronto. So him and I were kind of going back and forth trying a bunch of different things, and nothing was really clicking. And then Stefan reached out to me. I saw this earlier because I was just looking through some of our messages. Like I think it was very, very early January, late December, asking about this Worlds team. And I don't know, Stefan, I've been talking for a while, so maybe I'll hand it over to you. Why did you think Kyogre might have been the call for San Antonio when we first started talking?
I liked where Kyogre was into a lot of the meta because we were looking at like the meta was slowing down a little bit. We had a lot more bulky stuff. Like Grim did pretty well at Worlds, even though like it didn't win Worlds. Like the Utah team, like that Ice Rider team that got second place. Like basically a lot of the things that do well into the teams that were winning Worlds are really weak to Kyogre. So the theory initially was like, all right, well if people are naturally going to be trying to counter like the Miraidon and like the Utah Ice Rider stuff, like if those teams all lose to Kyogre, then why wouldn't we run Kyogre? So initially I was running the OE team a little bit. That's the Calm Mind variant that's very, very common. And like it felt pretty good. Like I was pretty happy with it. But I wanted to just kind of see how the hyper offense stuff felt because like at those locals before Worlds, I was on like Screen's Ice Rider, which does not like to see the like Terra Water Surging Strikes and Rain. And I just kept getting bodied by Chase. I'm just like, all right, this is like really annoying. Like so I wanted to look into it a little bit, and then I reached out to Chase because the reason I dropped the team was that I had no Miraidon matchup, and like I was at a lot of the locals that Chase was at where Chase was winning against Miraidons. So I was like, all right, well, like let's explore this again. And so I reached out to Chase. I'm like, all right, like what do you think is like bad about that? Like what do you think is not like what you would like with the team? How can we make the team better? Kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that Chase said was, um, well, I really wish I could be Jolly Urshifu, but you really need Adamant for all of these Mystic Water calcs. And I'm going to make fun of Chase just a little bit here, but it applies to like the entirety of the VGC scene. Everyone just forgets Ursh can run Life Orb. Like, because nobody
Yeah.
runs it. So I'm
I
like
mean,
talking
yeah,
to Chase,
pretty much.
I'm like, you know, there's another item, right? That like gets an extra 10% to offset the 10% you'd lose from going Jolly. Because I also like had not like considered Life Orb Ursh prior
Mm-hmm.
to the time that I used it. I used it in Reg E at LAIC,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it from Calvonics. But I was like, yeah, like that seems pretty good. Like all right, we could fix that. We messed around a little bit with a couple of other things. Not really that much though. Like the team stayed mostly the same. Like we switched to Terra Grass on the Ursh. I don't remember exactly when that happened, but overall, like that was kind of the main thing. Where that was like the only thing that you didn't really like, and you also had Farig at Worlds, right? So,
Yeah.
I also had gone through a large amount of time of testing for rig, so I was like, all right, like I'll test for rig again for Reg G2, and I liked for rig more than you did actually in testing,
Mm-hmm.
which was really funny because
Yeah,
like
we were definitely back and forth on the Serena for rig. I was kind of I was really 50-50 on it the first few weeks we were testing.
yeah, and I think I had a bit of confirmation bias where like I'm just really good at the team, and like so I was just winning games with Farig
Right.
when like at some point you start to look at it and you're like, but do I really need it to be Farig? Is it really winning me games, or am I just winning with the Farig?
Mm-hmm.
And so like we had a period of time where like both of us were doing very well with the team with both versions of the team. So like we both just had really high win rates with both Zarina and Farig. So it was kind of hard to figure out which one we actually wanted to go with. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was like the Rilla being good into that Miraidon, right? Where like initially you told me, oh yeah, like Terra Ground high horsepower into the Miraidon is just like really, really good. And I think I had the same reaction that a lot of people have had when I've talked to them about the team after the fact, where I'm like, but like, what if they don't Volt Switch you? Like,
Yeah.
what if they just Draco the Rilla? And it's just like, well, they don't. Like,
Yeah.
but like, what if they? Well, they won't though. Right? Like,
Mhm.
so initially, I was testing out like U-turn stuff. I was like trying all that stuff. I'm like, well, I'm not winning against Miraidon anymore. And then I think I finally got like really sold on it when I played a bunch of games against Trailer and just won all of them, even though he knew the line. Like I didn't win the games turn one by like Terror Ground horsepowering the Miraidon. It was just like that kind of proved to me like, oh, you can just do this and it creates like an even board state regardless of what they do. Cause
Mhm.
like, yeah, they could like Draco you, but then they're stuck on grassy terrain with a choice locked -2 Miraidon. Like, okay, that's perfectly playable. Like, there's so many things that they could do that like none of them actually make it really that bad. And so like that kind of sold me on the team where I'm like, okay, like the Rillaboom Terra Ground thing is working. Awesome. And then everything else just kind of like Jolly Ursh ended up over time just becoming better and better. Because initially we ran Jolly Ursh because you wanted to outspeed Fluttermanes in Tailwind. That
Mhm.
was the main thing. I liked Jolly Ursh. I ran Scarf Jolly Ursh at Worlds. I wanted Jolly Ursh because I wanted to outspeed Cheeves and Landos. So we both wanted it for different reasons, but we wanted the same thing. So we went that way. And then, like, while we were doing that, everyone just started bulking really hard on everything. So then by the time we actually got to San Antonio, the Ursh was outspeeding almost every Ogre Pawn, every other Ursh. Like all of these Mons that are like pretty fast. Like Ursh is just like reliably faster than them now. Like things where it's like, oh man, like Ogrepon's like really a little bit difficult to deal with because it hits the Kyogre and like Ogrepon Hearthflame can one it KO Terra Grass Kyogre in rain. So like there's like crazy reads they can go. And all of a sudden, a lot of those really awkward matchups just became like fine because Ursh is faster, it just kills them. So like the Jolly Ursh really was like the real centerpiece of this team. And Terra Grass was also really good because, like, functionally, like, okay, I can ignore Mungus now. Okay, awesome. All of these different things like kind of made it so that Ursh if you get Ursh in Rain in Tailwind, there's like nothing they can do. He's like you can't fake out
Mhm.
cycle it because there's a Zarina. You can't Rage Powder it because it's Terra Grass. You can't like T-Wave it with Flutter because it's faster now. So like the Ursh just kind of brought everything together and is just a really, really insane piece on this team.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
your
yeah, go
nickname.
ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
I had people at San Antonio say, I'm max adamant Ursh. Why did you win every speed tie? I was like, that's because we're not adamant. And they'd look at me, they're
Yeah.
like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm jolly. Like we have reasons to be jolly. Like we're in rain, we have Sword of Ruin, we have Tailwind, like we have all of the tools. We just need to make up for that lost 10% that we're going from jolly, like, and going from there. And it's like having that extra bit of speed, like even into like Groudon teams. I've faced numerous Groudon teams where I'd get Tailwind up and I'm like, okay, cool, Kyogre's down. I have Sword of Ruin Surging Strikes. They'd like protect Flutter. It doesn't matter. I just Surging Strikes through the protect, KO with Sword of Ruin on the field. It's like, oh, cool. Okay, I'm still making up that 10% by having Life Orb. And it works because I still have speed. And
The
it's
other
like
really
that
nice
just
thing,
functionally works.
Mhm.
yeah, and then, like the other nice thing, like you said, like outspeeding Groudon is cool, but like there are some people when our team started to get picked up, some people switched it to Timid Kyogre, and the fact that the Ursha is faster than that instead of slower makes that like a really, really favorable matchup. So like there are a lot of
Mhm.
different things. Like a lot of Torns are 151 speed, 150 speed because they just want to outspeed the Adamant Ursh. There's so many things that are easy to just outspeed the Adamant Ursh. So like
Right.
you win those key speed engage like speed interactions, but you also just win a bunch of other ones that like you're not really specifically calced for, but it's just kind of nice that you also happen to outspeed all this stuff.
Yeah, and another thing that was also just incredible at the Life Orb switch was it made the close combat just like a nuke as well. Whereas
Yeah.
Mist Water obviously only boosted the Surging Strikes and Jet. The going Jolly Life Orb with the team, I definitely think was the thing that kind of just made it click for all of us. I think that was
Mhm.
like the big change from this team that I made. I want to recall that I actually had considered it for Worlds. I know he wasn't the first person to use it, but I know Oliver Eskelin used it at want to say it was Reg F at UIC 2024. And that was the first time I had seen. I know, or maybe, definitely not the first time, but the first time I'd considered it because I know like Aaron Trailer had used it at I want to say Pittsburgh and stuff. But um,
Mhm.
I think I tricked myself into thinking that this spread was like a super bulky spread. When obviously it's not super bulky, but the 52 and the 92 did have some good rolls into things, and I did want to keep it as healthy as possible. And obviously, Life Orb just kind of takes that away completely. Um, so that's kind of why I switched it up there. And then the other thing that was like 100% essential was the Terra Grass from the Terra Water. I can switch over. This is the final team for the most part that we went with, and the final spreads. Um,
Zareen is
so
a
the
little
two,
faster now, but the
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say the only difference is that I think Stefan made it. You just did 252 for Toronto, right? Or not
two
Toronto,
four
Vancouver.
four actually.
Right,
Two
right.
four four. We can talk about that in a little bit. That's a like the Zarina speed is really funny.
Yeah, but this was definitely like the Urshifu was the best part of the team, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I,
for
I
sure.
loved setting
It
up the
was our
Urshifu
second
to just
restricted,
sweep
like, by far. Like, this thing
100%.
was disgusting. It saved so many matchups where it's like, oh, cool, it's either like Zama or CSR with Rocky Helmet Amoonguss in the back. I don't care if you have Amoonguss. We outspeed and Tailwind, and then, like, Surging Strikes and Rain is just free.
Hmm.
Yep.
And then I think the Urshifu overall, the spread was one big change from the World's team. And then the second one that we've kind of talked about is the Serena, which I think helps the bad matchups so much. I did like Stefan was kind of talking about the tailoring version that he started with before Indy. And I was able to pull it off quite a bit where I would set up Tailwind, and then you really just need speed control of the team, and everything's kind of middle ground where I was able to set up a lot where when on the turn that my Tailwind would run out, if I had Kyogre or Ursh on the field or something, I could usually get off the Trick Room. But other than that and Helping Hand, Frigg really wasn't doing anything, whereas Serena is fast, and the Ice and the Power Whip and the Helping Hand and the Taunt just it hits Raging Bolt, which is the team's number one enemy. Um,
Yeah,
and
one
then
of the
it hit,
biggest
yeah.
reasons why I wanted Zarina originally back in April was Terrapago's setup was really, really prevalent in the
Mm,
beginning of the format. So one of the biggest things I wanted to be able to do was to KO AV Rillaboom with triple axle water spout outside of rain. So because a lot of those teams would lead Rillaboom Terrapagos and they would just Terra the Terrapagos immediately, but
mhm,
like Mystic Water Spout, even out of the rain, is still a very strong move, and then you hit the Rilla super effectively with Ice, and the defensive Terra is usually Fire, so they can't defensively Terra that into that combination of moves anyway. So, like, the Rillaboom is always goes down, and then back in April, because I ran an Adamance Arena at that point, like, you could also do the same thing to the really bulky AV Raging Bolts. So, you would stop them from being able to glide or thunderclap you, and you could just KO them with Water Spout Triple Axle, and they can't Terra out of it because if they Terra, they just die to the Water Spout.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I loved it for the Raging Bolt. I loved it for the Rillaboom. It was nice for opposing Kyogre or Urshifu. It threatened so many different mons. Um, and Terra Ice was something we really only tested Ice. I think we liked it kind of from the beginning. I think Daniel Yu used Ice on Serena, and I want to say he got top 32 at Worlds with it.
Hmm.
On a very different Kyogre team, but Kyogre team nonetheless. And Ice is awesome when you do need that extra damage, but then also it's just really good because you do want to bring Serena often in or sometimes into like Cali Ice, and the Ice could end up being a really good defensive Terra as well when you needed it to be. So I did like the Terra Ice on it.
Yeah, I had Terra Fire and Indy, but really the only thing that I was using it for was for Ice Resist.
Hmm.
So, like, Ice is just better, right? Like, because you get that Ice
Yeah.
Resist, but you can also, like, every now and then you could Terra it offensively in end games where you're like, all right, like, I could just tear out a 1 KO this Raging Bolt, and then I don't have to double it. Like, stuff like that was like very, very niche, but it also did come up as well, where something else like a Terra Water would not be as good defensively or
Yeah,
offensively.
I agree. I think I had run Terra Water at Indy and NAIC as well. But I agree. I think the ice was way better because I was really only using it for the ice resist.
Having ice for the Zama matchups too, I feel like is a little underrated too. It's like
Absolutely.
getting Tailwind up and then just triple axling for free. I think it's like what 40-50% after 3 hits. It's like, oh cool, now I can just like crash or ice beam, and then that's Terra Dragon, and it just works.
Yeah, that was definitely really helpful as well. And it just created so many pins. The grass and ice type coverage was just so nice for so many different pins with so many different mons. Yeah, I think Serena was just like the perfect mon. I think to really like piece the team together because honestly, when the team started up, if Peggy had reached out to me, I don't think I would have been. I don't. Who knows? But I don't think I'd be running Kyogre, and I definitely would have had the level of success I've had that we've all had. Because when he believed in the team, I was like, well, if he's gonna run my World Team or a version of it, I'm definitely gonna. I mean, I have to because I definitely still like the team. I was doing really well with it. Obviously, yeah. I'm glad we found a way to kind of make it work. And yeah, another thing that Stefan had talked about too was like the modest Kyogre. A lot of people were going timid because it hits 152 when it's timid, which outspeeds Adamant Ursh. And a lot of times, if you have Tailwind, if you lead Torn Ogre, people are like, oh, I want to be faster than Adamant Ursh because everyone was Adamant. But the truth is, you just need bodies because the rolls are so much better, and we are max speed, so we're already fast. Like you're not gonna outspeed most Flutterman. There are some that you will in Tailwind. Like there was one at you, I see that. I was able to outspeed in Tailwind, which was always a great surprise, but you never expect it. But yeah, the modest Mystic Water Splash Plate Kyogre just it hits so hard, and you can let it go down too, like we've talked about, and bringing Ursh as the kind of the sweeper. But this is just a nuke, and I've always really really liked this.
Yeah,
Yeah, the other thing as well about Modest too, right, is that like you get a lot of security and a lot of like different circumstances where like Modest does like the min roll of Water Spout into max HP Calyrex Shadow Rider is a 101%. So like there are feasible defensive builds of like various Pokemon that you really want to be able to 1-hit KO that Timid doesn't guarantee. So like and like even like the Fluttermane, like a lot of people like that you can outspeed Fluttermane and Tailwind with Timid, which is like, yeah, that's awesome. It's a 68% roll though, because you're missing that modest damage. So like you're like a lot of the time you're still not getting that KO that you're investing that entire nature into.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like
I
haven't
when
like
people run
vibed with
Timid,
the
I think
Timid
it's
one.
such a throw on this kind of build, and a lot of people run it a lot bulkier too, or just things like that. But I've this spread I really haven't changed at all. I did run Hydro Pump at Worlds to get around, kind of wide guard shenanigans,
Stuff, yeah.
but the truth is like if they want to sit there and wide guard in front of us, we would be getting more like better progression throughout the set by forcing them to click wide guard with Hurricane or bringing in something in the other side. So also Opals is just when you are low and there's so many choice scenarios where you really like it. So we kind of went back on Pulse like right away because Stefan, when we were looking at the team, he was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna run Pump. I was like, yeah, that's fine.
The Iron Bundle effect is too real.
Yeah. I mean, Opals doesn't feel much better to click, but
I disagree actually. Really? I think like if you're running Kyogre, I think there's 2 ways you can think about Opals, and I think if you want to keep your sanity, you have to think about it a specific way. Because you can think about it in the way that 29% of the time you're missing at least one target, or you could think about it in 97% of the time you're connecting with something. So that's how I think about it. And that's how I kept my sanity.
That's a better way to think about it. Yeah, 97% chance to hit something. That's definitely a better way to think about it. I think I don't know. Everyone knows kind of the nature of the move that it can miss, and you have sometimes if you really did hit the target you need to hit, it can be a nightmare. But Kind of our slogan for all three of us kind of was just never stop spouting, because unless I really needed to pulse, I would always spout.
Yeah.
Even if I was like 50%, 40%, like unless we really needed a pulse, we just kept spouting.
The other thing that was really cool is that, like, I think to unlock this team's full potential, you have to have an extremely deep knowledge of all of your damage calcs on every single move on this team. And one
Mhm.
of the ways that you can continuously remove the variance of Origin Pulse is if you know exactly how much Water Spout does at all of your various HP values, and then exactly how much damage the follow-up moves do. So a lot of the time you might have a board state where you're like, oh, if I connect O-Pulse, I win. But the same board state might be like, oh, if I click Spout, I do enough damage that I can click Sucker Punch Aqua Jet 2 turns later and I win anyway, and I don't have to risk the 15% miss chance. So, like,
100%.
that's kind of the idea behind never stop spouting as well, right? Where it's like, there's probably a line where you don't need to click that pulse, even if Spout's not getting the KO.
Yeah, and I think that touches on upon it really well. Is we definitely have a lot of boosts that can miss. Hurricane can miss. I mean, triple axle help with power up. Like we have wide lens, but those can miss. High horsepower can miss, unfortunately. Icicle crash can miss. Opals can miss. But I think all three of us, even though we have those moves, they're all essential, I think, to the team. And but we only click them when we need to. And like Stefan was
Yeah.
saying, we always try to find the line to not click those moves. So if we can
Yeah.
click Spout, Sacred Sword instead of whatever Opulse or something like that, we would always work to those lines.
Mhm.
But I think all of the moves that can miss are essential.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to
Is
like
there any?
EUIC
Mm,
area, like we didn't change a lot. I think the only thing that
Just the
changed,
torn,
yeah,
right?
I think it was either or both actually. I think it was the Torn and the Serena speed specifically, because I think this is I
mm-hmm.
think EUIC was the major that were like, oh cool, maybe we can just go max attack and like really fast
Can I
Serena.
tell the Zarina speed story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
Yeah.
this starts way back in April. When initially we built like a bulky Zarina, and like, it's fucking it's a Kyogre team. So we built like bulky Kyogre, which I did actually bring to Indy. Bulky Kyogre, bulky Zarina, bulky, all like bold, bulky, Rocky Helmet Torn, like all like super bulky, all the bulk. And then right before Indy, max speed Ensign started picking up, and we were like, oh, that's so annoying. Like, oh, because for a while I was running like 120 speed Kyogre, which is like the old school standard Sword and Shield spread. And I'm like, that gets outsped by Ensign. Like, what's happening? So initially, like we moved up the Kyogre speed, but then I was like, all right, if I could taunt the Ensign, it can't parting shot. I really want this Zarina to be faster than Incineroar. So I'm like, all right, Adamant 252, that hits 124. We're good. We're fine. Nice. And then I was testing various Kyogre stuff. I tested like 20 things for Worlds because I was not having a good time in the format. And around Worlds, everyone started running max speed modest Raging Bolt, which is 127. And I was just like, you got to be faster with the Zarina, otherwise it just Draco Meteors you. Like, you have to be faster with the Zarina. So I'm like, okay, fine. 128 Zarina. Fine. And then we were playing 128 Zarina, and then one of our locals, Keon, shouts to Keon, was running Zama Regidrago, and was doing really well with it. And we were like, wow, Regidrago's kind of annoying if it's piloted well. Huh. It hits 132. We can go 133 on Zarina. Like that, like, all right, 133 on Zarina. Okay, we're getting up there. It's like 220 at this point. Like, jolly. We're like, all right, 133, which conveniently also outspeeds currently the most common Mystic Water Ursh, which is 131, and the most common really bulky Ogerpons, which is less relevant for Zarina, but still kind of nice. And then Wolf wins UIC, and like this Pagos team with the Screamtail is taking off, and we're looking at this, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad. Screamtail's so bad. And then I'm like, wait a minute. If we go max speed Zarina, we outspeed booster speed Screamtail by 1. So that's how we ended up with Jolly 244's Arena. Uh, Chase and Tony were not at Vancouver, so they never had to use it, but I did use it, and it never came up.
Yeah,
I'm so
if you look at
glad.
probably if you look at our first couple teams, yeah, we just every like week we were taking more bulk out. I think I want to say at San Antonio we actually ran 236 attack, but
Yeah.
then we
Yeah,
up
that was
for
for
EUIC we went to
Texas.
252 just because there were some raging bolts and stuff that were living on like such minimal HP that I was checking the rolls and it was definitely just worth to dump the rest in there. And then the
Yep.
I mean, the bulk has always just been a dump, essentially, so it kind of made sense to keep taking out from there. But then the Rilla for my Worlds team was 220 attack, and then I had a little bit of bulk, but we ended up just making the funny 252
Max
252 for
Rilla,
Rilla.
baby.
Yeah, I remember this was because you had a 75% chance to OHKO no bulk Miraidon at Worlds. And I was like, yeah,
I
but
think
like
it was
everyone
higher
is
than
running
that.
the
I
Chari.
think no bulk was closer to like it was closer than that.
81
Like
maybe?
I
Might have
think
been
it was
81.
87 actually. For no bulk at all, I want to say 220 was like 87 for no bulk.
Maybe. But I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, so the problem that we're running into now is that everyone is running the Chari spread, which is 44 HP.
Mhm.
So I think the actual calc you had into the Chari spread was like 62. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
it was much lower.
do we really need this Spadef? Because we can turn it into 75, which is like still not perfect. But the other idea I had was like, if everybody is on the Chari spread, a bunch of people are going to take some of that HP and put it back in speed to like outspeed the other people that are on that spread. So I was like, all right, if we look at like 75, 81, like that's not that bad. But like 62 is starting to get to like, I don't know about that, especially with the mischance in there. But yeah, like ultimately, like 252 attack on Rilla also just ended up making the prio spam version of this this
Mhm.
prio spam lines insane. Like you have a 71% chance to 2-hit KO Cornerstone Ogrepon with 2 Grassy Glides after a tick of Grassy Surge recovery. It's like the amount of damage you get from that. Like you could click Icicle Crash Glide into No Bulk Miraidon and it dies, like regardless of if they Terra. So like that amount of damage output, a lot of people were just not ready for. And like even like Terra Ground high horsepower into like Iron Hands can one KO it if you switch in POW. Like there's crazy stuff that this spread can do. Even though it looks like really lazy, it is like 100% optimal for this team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
having that
one
POW
other
switch
thing.
in is just like it's insane. Like have
Mm.
people not realizing like before seed activates on Farigiraf, they'll be like, "Oh, like cool, I'm calc to live like Grassy Woodhammer." And then they'll like see POW swap out and then they're like, "Oh, okay, that's all right, I guess." Regardless of Terra unless it's like resisted, Hammer just KOs and they're like, "Oh, I have nothing for Iron Hands and my Miraidon is slower than your POW now." And it like it snowballs and it actually does matter in those matchups where it's like, okay, I have Terra Ground and you have no more helping hand options, so you can't OHKO in grassy terrain and like your hands isn't gonna outspeed.
One of my favorite
One of
calcs that you get with like the Rilla POW stuff, and Chase used this to win a game on stream at San Juan. But like one of my favorite calcs is like, if you win a game with Rilla POW and they have a Chi Yu, a lot of people will be like, all right, Chi Yu time, it's Rilla POW. And so into like the Miraidon 222 team that runs Sash Chi Yu, one of the lines that I found was that you could just click Grassy Glide Terra Stellar Crash and it just kills the Chi Yu through Sash. So like you can't do that with like a 116 adamant spread on the Rilla or like one of the like a lot of people are running super bulky like 36 attack now. You just can't do that with those kinds of spreads.
Oh, I think Chase DC'd.
Uh-oh.
I'll take a spot. No, I agree. I think like the Rillaboom is super important here, specifically like on this comp having max. Like I've had people walk up to me. I don't remember who it was at locals. Someone walked up to me after I said, "Yeah, like I have no bulk pretty much besides AV." And this was like after UIC, after we're like, "Oh, like Vancouver, whatever." People were like, "Oh, like why do you have so much attack?" I'm like, "We have like the stupidest calcs for specifically this. Like we OHKO so much
regional.
stuff."
Oh, he's back.
Yeah,
He's back. There we go.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, UGC.
Oops, sorry.
No, you're
No
good.
worries. No worries. Cody
Could you
took
still
over.
could you still hear me?
No.
Nope. But Tony
Okay,
filled
I
in.
was just
Yeah, we filled. You're good.
okay.
You take over.
Sorry, I was saying to Stefan. Yeah, did you hear that I said about the part that I said? It was Stefan told me this the day before Puerto Rico.
Oh no.
Okay, then I was just definitely just talking to the void, but um, I was saying that yeah, Stefan told me the calc the day before Puerto Rico. I was trying to say the Grassy Glide Ice Boat Crash play, and I mean it definitely won me that set. Where into a team that when I saw that it won Married, I was very scared to go up against it. Um, kind of like leading into Puerto Rico, but yeah, it won me that set, and the fact that two resisted attacks can KO that mon is just insane to me. And no one like every single time I did it, I've done it a few times. People are always shocked when that line works.
Yep. I got to do it to a Japanese player at EYC Day 2. That was fun.
Yeah, it just the craziest line. And then one other change we had between San Antonio and EUIC was the torn. But like Stefan mentioned, I was so used to running like max HP, near max defense, bold, rocky helmet, like could just take so many hits. Like I think I think we used a similar spread at San Antonio here. Um but because one of our locals was running choice specs
Colding like shout out,
CSR,
baby.
uh we decided to make it was still like a roll in our favor to live specs CSR.
Mhm.
Uh
It was like
but we just
18% to KO, but like
yeah.
it was really annoying. But also it was like the week before a GC, and I was like, our team just
Mm.
gets rolled by like Specs Terrago CSR. But like so we basically made it so we could always live Specs Astral, not with Terra Ghost. But that came up like really hard in my EUIC run because I played two Specs Terra Ghost CSRs day one, and I was able to create board states where I know like one of them was running Mousehold. He ended up getting like 33rd. He did really, really well, but like he led Mousehold CSR, which I was like a little bit worried about. But I knew I could lead Torn Pow into that. This was round 6. Rory. So I was like, I can lead Torn Pow into this, and I can Terra Stellar Sacred Sword the Mousehold and click Tailwind, because if you don't Terra Ghost, then you can't kill my Torn, and if you Terra Ghost, you can't Terra Ghost your Mousehold. So like then I'm KOing the Mousehold. So basically, I was able to create like these board states in like both of those matches where I was game 1 both times they just didn't expect the Torn to live, which was cool. And then game 2, like they had to really respect the POW, because if you're gonna Terra Ghost your Specs Calyrex, there's a POW. Like you gotta have an answer for that. Otherwise, you're just gonna die to Sucker Punch. So a lot of people are like really, really hesitant to even do that, even after the fact. So that change ended up being like really, really impactful. And before San Antonio, we didn't have that calc, but we had like 60 EVs that we were just looking at. And we kept saying, like, if there's something that could use optimization, it's definitely this Torn. Like, we're just kind of messing around a little with these EVs, and like I guess like the bulk is kind of nice. Another one that was really funny was at EUIC. Like this Torn lived a Blood Moon from AV Blood Moon on like 1 HP. I'm like, neat.
It's just a flesh rune, just casual.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the torn spread, yeah, was like fun. That was kind of the one thing we were kept like, is this optimized? Like almost everything on the team felt incredibly optimized for like what we were trying to get done. But the torn was always the thing that we were like, it's getting the job done. But I do think the spread for the meta that we were playing ended up being a really good call, and yeah, it got the job done for the most part for us. Is there anything else we want to talk about the team, or do we want to go into some runs maybe?
I mean,
I
like
want to hear
records are really good.
Tony's experience with picking up the team.
Oh god,
Yeah.
dude. All right. Stefan mentioned this like earlier today while I was at work. TLDR, I'm an ex-Groudon player. I thought Kyogre was like, oh cool, Kyogre's like a Pokemon that hits its moves and it is also really good. But Stefan mentioned earlier today that I was like a little baby placed on the porch of two Kyogre players with a sticky note that says he won't stop talking about Groudon. And therefore I decided that, you know what? I'm making a good Worlds run. Maybe I should use accurate moves, as we have like 6 inaccurate moves on our team. But more consistent than Groudon. But yeah, like I picked up the team, and I'm not gonna lie, I trusted both of you because I was like, okay, Stefan's like the swordfish guy, and then Chase is like the Kyogre guy. Like, I might as well. Like, I had nothing to lose like early January, because Chase and I were like, oh, like what restricted do we pick? Like, where do we go from here? I remember we were talking to Aaron about like Miraidon master classes, and I was honestly like, I don't know if I have like the skill ceiling to be like as good as Aaron or like Arubega in general to actually pick it up. And I was like, I don't really like it. Like, I didn't like it where it was. But there was nothing that was interesting to me. Like, I tried making like CSR Dozo, like a version of Dawei's team, and I was just like, I don't vibe with this. But
I did too.
yeah, it's like I don't know what to do here. I was originally gonna go back to Cali Ice Cornerstone, which is like my tried and true. I ran it at a bunch of locals beforehand, and then just threw by running Groudon for like 2 majors in a row. And yeah, like I fully trusted you guys. I was like, you know what? Like, I'll help with some stuff, but I didn't help with much. Like, you guys did most of the optimization. I was just kind of like, oh, cool. Calc memorization, water spout, and like a Rillaboom. That's all I need. And then like us coming up with like funny 4. I feel like that was just, it was just streamlined from there. Like, even with the innovation of the wide guard Zama, like, I think that us having just the generalized, like, oh, we're gonna water spout you, or are we? Like, having that, I feel like having that pressure into a team like that, that's completely fine. Because
Yeah,
we have funny 4.
One of the secrets is like you do always just click water spout, right? Because
Yeah, truly.
when you like the team becomes a lot more, I guess, like easy to pilot when, because one of the big things is you need to play really crazy with this team. Like one of the quotes that I kept telling Tony, because you were having a really hard time with this team for like the first week or so.
Yeah, I did not
And
click with it immediately, and I was like, I was back and forth with you guys on Serena and Farigiraf, because like I didn't know how to play with Serena at the time.
yeah, and like one of the things that I just kept saying was like there's this one Ben Grismer quote from 22 where he tweeted out, is it a 50-50 if 95% of you do the same thing every time? And like
That
that's
stuck
kind of,
with me in
yeah, like
every Miraidon
that is
matchup.
the core center of like how you play this team. Like Arubega is gonna volt switch you. So
Yeah,
you protect the Kyogre and you Terra Ground the Rillaboom and they can't get out. And then
exactly.
like when I was talking about the team with Buenti a little bit, and Buenti was just like, yeah, but like what if they like helping hand Draco you? I'm like, they are
They do
not
not.
going
They
to. And
don't
he's
do that.
like, but what if they do? I'm like, they're not gonna. And it's like, all right, Zama Pow, you click tail and water spout. But like, what if they wide guard? They're not going to.
Yeah, it's like,
Like
even if
75%
they do,
of the time, they are not going to. They're gonna Terra Dragon, take 55%, and then you're gonna win with Ursh. But
exactly.
it's way easier to like do that, to like play that way, when you really stop considering Kyogre you're restricted and start thinking about Ursh as you're restricted.
Yeah,
Because
it's dual restricted.
yeah,
We're ahead of the game.
well, yeah, like you just don't need the Kyogre. The Kyogre is there to set rain and do like a thing. And sometimes it just wins you the game. Like sometimes they don't respect it, it wins you the game. It's great. But like a lot of the time it's just like into CSR balance. The only Pokemon that's important is Ursh in an entire matchup. You just need Tailwind, you need Rain, and you need like a Zarina standing next to it. Ursh does everything else. So like it's very, very easy to create those board states where you have Ursh with like the maximum amount of turns when you realize that like Kyogre dying is not a bad thing. Torn dying is not a bad thing. Like all we care about is Ursh in, punch. Punch hard.
Yeah, that's
Many
literally
modifiers.
it. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like
that
it
matchup.
truly comes down to like how many modifiers do you have in this endgame board state, where like you control the speed, you control how many multipliers you have with Tailwind, Rain, and Sword of Ruin. It's like that alone is just insane. Like, having pressure with both POW and Urshifu, who hits through Protect, it's like, oh my god. Why haven't we done this before?
Yeah, it just feels broke. Like one of the reasons why I'm bored of the team is that like you don't need to get creative. In like 98% of your games, you have a Mon that one it KOs restricted through Protect. Like you just kill them. Like that's all
Yeah,
there
you
is
just
to it. You
win.
look at like some of these calcs with these like the prio things. Because a lot of the time, like Tony mentioned, Funny Four. Funny Four is like it's just Torn Ogre power, and it's like one of the reasons why I really like the OG version. Like I won against one of the Miraidon players by just out positioning them with those four because those four can win against anything. It's not favorable against everything, but like you can bring those into any team and win. And one of the but like you really start to realize that like if you do damage with Kyogre, like any amount of like a spout into like 2 resists, those resists are like dead to like Sucker Jet. Like
Yeah.
the amount of damage this thing does, like you do if you have like Rain and Sword of Ruin and like obviously Life Orb, like Aqua Jet next to POW into like a Terra Fairy Miraidon does like 60%. It's ridiculous.
Like even seeing like a super effective hit, I guess this makes more sense obviously, but like seeing the uptick in like bulkier Landos and people being like, what happened to my Landorus? And it's like we're in rain, we have Life Orb, and we have Chen Pao. It's like it was either gonna go down to Icicle Crash or like if we outspeed you, it's going down to Surging Strikes. But like a 40 base power move is able to OHKO the bulky super effective hits like Lando. And it's like that having that form of pressure while ignoring everything else, like even if you have a Mungus or if you have like no redirector on the board, like something is going down. There's too many modifiers for you to care about.
I think one thing we haven't talked about the team that I think very few teams I've seen actually still use is Hurricane Torn,
Mm.
which I think makes such a difference as well.
I have been like day one of this format, I have said Hurricane Torn is objectively correct on Kyogre. I hate how many people run Bleak Wind. I think it's wrong. I think it's dumb. You just get walled by Wide Guard. And like the sheer damage output of this move, like 35% to Zama, like Oko on like the super bold Amoonguses if you get lucky. Oko onto Ogre Pawns. Like the main reason I built it in the indie team is that I was having trouble with Water Pawn, and I was like, what if I just one shot this with with Hurricane instead of clicking Bleak Wind? And then like the more I've used it, especially on like this team, like the more you realize just how much value this stupid move gets you. Just like 45% to bulky Roaring Moon. Like the one of our favorite 2 KOs is like into Roaring Moon teams, you could just click Protect, Hurricane Tail, and Water Spout, and they just lose the Roaring Moon. And like it like even like Hurricane Confusion, like I feel like a lot of people think about Hurricane and they're like, well, first you have to get the Confusion proc, and then you have to actually proc the self hit. But it's a higher likelihood of that happening than like Ice Beam Freeze. And like, how many times have you been like T-Bolt parried or like Ice Beam Frozen? Like, I've had a lot of games where you just like you get like 30% confusion's crazy too, because even if they don't hit themselves, the next turn they have to respect the fact that that Pokemon might not be moving. And like that creates such awkward board states for opponents. And not to mention the fact that you can just do 70 to an AV Rillaboom if you want. Or like it's so much better than just like piddly Bleak Wind.
Yeah, I like Blakeland, but I totally agree with you for this team, and I mean Torn Ogre in general. Like Hurricane is 100% the way to go, and um, I think also we were kind of talking about the Zama matchup before. I think the Zama matchup becomes infinitely harder if we don't have Hurricane, because a lot of times if they do try to spam the wide guard, we can just get Hurricanes off into whatever, and it just picks up so much damage, as well as into Mungus. Like there was, I did run into like a super bold Amoonguss at San Antonio day 2, and I did pick up the Oko on the Amoonguss, and it made such a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like we look at
having
like
single
I think
target is so good. It's crazy. It's like we
Mhm.
don't care about the speed drops. Like having confusion proc at what 30%, and like a 100 base or 110 base power like flying type stab move against anything. Like Oh, cool. This bypasses accuracy checks because it's in rain. Awesome.
Yeah.
Your grass type redirector is now gone, and now Urshifu it doesn't even have to Terra.
The other thing as well that's worth considering is like you create states where like grass types die to Water Spout Hurricane. Like Rillaboom dies to Water Spout Hurricane. Like, and a lot of the like I mean not a lot, but there are Pokemon that are EV to live Bleakwind. So like for example, the bulky Ursh right now, if you take our modest Torn spread and you swap out Hurricane for Bleakwind, you have a 0% chance to KO the bulky Urshifu. Its max roll is 98%. Hurricane does a minimum of 121. Like they are not bulking an Urshifu to survive this move, and like it just gets frankly ridiculous. And then even into stuff like Terra Water Ice Rider, like we lead Torn into Ice Rider, which sounds a little weird, but like Hurricane does like 35, and then if they get confused, it gets super weird because like Water Spout does like 40, even if they resist it.
Mhm.
Like if they Terra Water and you click Hurricane Water Spout, they're dead to any priority move. I don't care if you set Trick Room. I'm gonna Aqua Jet you in rain and you're gonna die. Like
Yeah.
it's like the utility that you get out of Hurricane, it goes so far beyond like just dodging wide guard. It's such a good move, and like it does like Bleakwind. This team is designed to outspeed everything anyway. So like, what's a Bleakwind speed drop getting you really? Like sometimes it'll be nice, not often. Like usually it's just like I don't know, like Hurricane confused though. Like Chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think we'd much rather fish for Hurricane confusions than we would speed drops most like
I love
80% of the
Hurricane.
time.
Hurricane Confusion has bailed me out of so many sets.
People get mad. Like people get
Yeah.
so much. Like I feel like people get way more angry at like a Hurricane Confusion self hit than like a T-Bolt para full para. Even though the
Mm.
likelihood of that Hurricane Confusion self hit is like 4.5 times that of like the T-Bolt full para, because people are just not used to it. And they don't think about the fact that it's 11%. They just think about the fact that it's going through two different checks and like, oh my god, you got so lucky and I hurt myself, like, and like people get way more tilted off of that than they do off of like the more standard sort of like like Ice Beam Freeze is really tilting, but like like T-Bolt para
Yeah.
full para, people get less tilted by that. And you can really get advantages from that, because if somebody gets really mad game one off like a Hurricane Confusion self hit, and then you Hurricane confuse them again game two, they're swapping that slot. Like they're swapping that slot. You can hard read that and just win the game.
Yeah, like I've had that a few
100%.
times. It's like, oh, cool, I won off Hurricane Confusion because now you can't wide guard, especially if this isn't like Zama. Like, you bet your bippy that they're not gonna wide guard next game and they're just gonna body press because they're tilted, or like Sucker. It's like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
like I can still spout and bring Pow down to Sash and then like hit Zama for like 30% if you're not gonna Terra. Like, okay, cool, this is fine.
More even. Like it's crazy.
But yeah, did we want to move
Crash
on to
is
Vancouver?
important.
Did we want to move on to Vancouver?
Yeah, we can.
All right, cool, that works.
I think Vancouver is like a pretty good example of how the meta is kind of moving away from this team. I like one of the things that I say to people about this team, right, is that I think like any time you have a well constructed hyper offense team with like a variety of game plans, that team is never going to be bad. Like if I wanted to, like if we wanted to, the three of us could roll up to Atlanta, run this team, and probably like you could put any amount of money you want on all of us getting points, and we would just get points with this team. The team is good. We know how to pilot it, and like if you want to use the team, it will stay good. But like the difference comes in like in San Antonio, we had all of these things that people just didn't realize. Like, oh, that Ursh is faster than the Hearth Flames running around. Like that was crazy. Life Orb Ursh was not a thing, and it's something that a bunch of people have picked up from our team, even on other archetypes. It's not that common, but it's common enough that now everyone is kind of aware of what it does. In San Antonio, like I was just winning sets off CC with Sword of Ruin. I'm like, oh, you just don't know that your Ursh is dead to CC here. Like, you just don't know that Kyogre dies. Like, one of our lines into, like, the AV Kyogre stuff, like the Daniel Yu team from Worlds, is like, you just bench Kyogre and just click CC next to Sword of Ruin and you win. Like, there's no win condition for them. The Ursh just rolls the entire team. And, like Rillaboom with max HP is like a 60% roll or something. It's insanity how much value you get out of that. But now that people are sort of more aware of it, they're able to play around it better. They're able to like formulate lines a little bit better. They're a little bit more aware of how strong Hurricane is, just because the people who do take our team are usually using the same moves. Like, sometimes they'll change some things, but Hurricane does tend to stay. And like, the element of surprise being gone, I wouldn't say it hurts, but we lose sort of the bonus points, right? Like, the team is still capable of performing at a very high level. It's just that in San Antonio it was like extra bonus points, and then at EYC, to a secondary degree, a lot of Europe doesn't even care about NA regionals. So, like, going into Europe, a lot of those Europeans just all, it was like kind of running back San Antonio, where like a lot of the Europeans were just like, oh, what? And like they just
Yeah.
kind of died, where like they didn't understand the lines, they didn't understand like what like they didn't understand the damage rolls, they didn't understand a lot of the things about the team that like the NA players started to pick up after San Antonio. Because San Antonio, like Chase and I both cut. Tony went 8-3. The combined Swiss record is 28-5. So like the NA people took notice of this team after that, and like were a little bit more well prepared for it going forward. And I think that kind of like really was shown in Vancouver, where like the meta, I mean, the funny thing is the team hasn't really picked up usage that much, so nobody is really building for the team. Everyone just kind of knows how it functions, but the meta has kind of moved away from the team in like a slight way, because like now that everything is like turbo bulky, there are some teams showing up that are like, Screens Miraidon is really, really bad. Really bad. And like, Zama Ting Ludozo is not quite as bad, but it's pretty bad. And like some of the more offensive CSR variants with like double sash, cornerstone, pow, like, ooh, not good. So like that was definitely a lot harder at Vancouver. I think like a lot of the Calyrex Ice Riders are also kind of adding for Farigiraf back on again. I don't think that was super relevant to my run, but like that is something where like for a minute, a lot of the Calyrex has switched to Terra Water, which was actually way better for us, because like you could just click Spout, force the Terra, bring in Rillaboom, and kill them. And like that was really easy. But now a lot of them have kept water and have also started adding back Farigiraf, which obviously removes the viability of running Rilla. You can't run Rilla into that because Terra Ground, you're just always dead to Lance. So that's one of like the sort of hard things about the team. There are a couple matchups like that have just become a little bit worse. So my losses at Vancouver were like, I lost to a Zama Pow team, which is like the worst normal matchup. That one I played kind of badly, to be honest. I lost to Adam Colson running Terra Water Calyrex Ice Rider. That one he just played really well. And then I lost to James Evans running that double prior or double sash, like pseudo double sash, like Cornerstone Chen Pao Tailwind CSR stuff, which was very close set, but it's like a really, really hard matchup. So like there are more of those matchups showing up now that are like difficult, but as long as you know your lines into them, like I figured out the James Evans matchup, and like I was able to play it to a spot where like game 3 came down to a roll. So like you can definitely like find lines into these things. Like my round 9, I played against Aaron Brock. He was running Miraidon Bundle Hands Ensign, which on paper is like so bad, and I won. Like I got a little lucky, but like he played super well and I won off of like 2 crash flinches, which is like, yeah, like I got lucky with the crash flinches, but he outplayed me too. So like if he didn't outplay me, I wouldn't have needed those. So like there's definitely ways to win all these matchups. Like I played Miraidon Bundle Hands in a local where like Zhejiang was running it, and like I walked up and I just 2-0'd him. And like it wasn't easy. Zhe is really good, but like I looked at the team sheet and I was like, well, I'm cooked 6 ways to Sunday. And then I just won 2-0. Because like the team has the way, like you have so much offensive pressure that like with a hyper offense team like this, a well constructed hyper offense team can always force the board into like weird 50-50 states where if you're in a bad matchup, forcing 50-50s is a net benefit to you, right? Because if your matchup is like, if it's like a 40-60 matchup and you can create a 50-50 board state, that's better than like the 40-60 trying to like outplay your way to win. So like I played against Lorenzo in UIC and he was running a Miraidon team where like game 2 I was really scared of him adjust. Like I beat him with my Tailwind mode and I was really scared of him adjusting and leading Iron Hands for Rigoraph because I was like, well, if he lead, one of the kind of problems about the Miraidon matchup is if they lead that, most of them won't because they automatically lose on lead to like Zarina Kyogre, but we don't lead Zarina Kyogre. So if they do lead that, things get very, very awkward. So up 1-0, I was like, all right, I'm just going to hard call out Lorenzo. He's going to lead Iron Hands for Rig. I lead Zarina Kyogre. And it's like Pow Miraidon. And I'm like, no. But then I looked at the board state and I'm like, this is really just a 50-50 because I can triple Axle your Miraidon. So you like if I Terra Ice triple Axle the Miraidon and you click crash into the Zarina, like I live. Like this actually isn't an automatic loss. So I looked at the board state and I'm like, he's just not gonna target the Kyogre here because this is the world's most obvious protect on Kyogre. So I just helping hand water spouted and just did 90 to the Miraidon because he just doubled the Zarina. I'm like, all right. So like you can always create those kinds of positions where like even if you find yourself in a really awkward spot, you can think to yourself about like, all right, what do they functionally have to invest in order to get rid of like these pieces? Like what are they like is it safe for them to do anything? And if it's not safe, you can try to take advantage of that and like use that volatility to your advantage. But it's definitely a bit of a harder meta to play towards right now. I do think like European meta doesn't really have a great answer to this, but the bulky Arubega stuff is also a little annoying. Like it's playable, but it's a lot worse than like the no bulk Arubega. So a lot of that stuff has been a little bit difficult, but like Vancouver, I didn't think I played particularly well, and I still won 7-3. So like I think the team is like perfectly capable of continuing to get results.
Yeah, I think kind of echoing what you said. I think the weekend before San Antonio as well was Birmingham, and then Oliver Esklin went got second place there. So
Mhm.
going into San Antonio, nobody was expecting hyper offense Kyogre
We
or
looked
anything
at
like
the day
this.
2 of Birmingham at every single Kyogre. There was like 16 Kyogres in day
Yeah,
2, and
a
every
ton.
single one was Calm Mind. Only one of them had Water Spout.
Yeah, they were all the exact same team, other than like Roy Moon or Iron Jugulus were kind of
Mhm.
like flip flopped on some teams, but most were just the Roy Moon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think San Antonio was definitely our best shot to make our deepest runs. Just because no one was ready for it, and like you said, no one was ready for like the Sword of Ruin CC or anything like that. Um, and then yeah, I think at UIC, all of us had good runs, I would say, at UIC. But I think after round one, we all like maybe it was round two, we all came up to each other and we're kind of like, I don't know if this was the call
Mhm.
necessarily, but we were all just so comfortable with the team. And like you said, Stefan, like you still went like you got to a top cut winning in at Vancouver, and you didn't think you played very well. So like the team definitely can still function.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I know Anthony and I think are done with Reg G for the rest of the event. So like I definitely think and like you also were kind of saying, like, I'm kind of bored of the team too, because it's just like, I mean, it's a great team and it's so good to win, but like, you don't have to be very creative with the team a lot of the
No.
times. And we've run the game so many times that it's just like clicking the same buttons over and over. And it's
Even
fun
the
to win it.
creative stuff isn't creative anymore because
Yeah.
like I kind of mentioned earlier, like it really is that idea of like when you're playing hyper offense, I feel like the correct way to approach it really is if you've played 5,000 games with the team and 95% of the time people did this one thing, counter that one thing. So like there are a lot of plays that we make that look really flashy. They're all planned out. All of them are pre-planned out, which is great. I love that. I love being able to go into a tournament and like I can really focus my creative energies on like 2 or 3 plays where like most of the turns are like pre-mapped where I'm like, I know what you're gonna do. I can do this. I know what you're gonna do. I can do this. And then like I can really focus all that thought on finding that one really good call to like get me over the line. But it does make it kind of boring because it does kind of feel like we're just following a script where I've got my matchup prep doc, it's 15 pages long, and I'm just like, yeah, it's Miraidon. You're gonna like most sometimes they don't volt switch anymore. But what I've learned is that Terra Ground High Horsepower Protect is always a winning line. They have no, like, their best play makes the board even. So,
Mhm.
like, and I know how to play that out. I've played like 500 sets against Arbega. Like, how many have they
Yeah,
played against our team? Like 6? So,
exactly.
like, there's that. And then, like, all of these teams, even like the really creative one, even like the ones that are like a little off the wall, like, sometimes like I haven't really practiced Maridon bundles. Like playing against Aaron was like really interesting, and I was like, all right, like engaging. Like let's figure it out. Like James as well. James like demolished our default line game 1, and I had to like, all right, I have to like find what our new line is, and like that was fun. But like all of day 1, I'm just like, this is what we do here, and like every single time I tried to like play Mons, it didn't work. Like I played against this dude Harrison, who was a really cool dude, but I played him round 3, and like I led like Urshi Kyogre, and just like no, I led like Tornogre, right? And I just like rolled his Calyrex Ice Rider team with the Tornogre line. And I was like, all right, this guy needs to, like, he can't bring like Ogerpon Calyrex again, because what it was Terra Grass, Terra Water on the Calyrex, no Farig. So I just like clicked Tailwind Water Spout and then brought in Rillaboom and killed him. And I was like, all right. So I was looking at it and like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, well, this guy, like, I haven't played this matchup that many times. Like, what's he gonna do? And I'm like, all right, he can lead Pelipper. He's gonna lead Pelipper so he can set Trick Room without committing his Terra. And that way we're gonna have to play out this game, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna lead Urshifu next to my Kyogre so I can punish. He just runs back the exact same lead. I'm like, I'm in a horrible spot. Oh god, I should have just done the line. Oh god. And like that happened a couple times where I was like playing. I was like trying to like think like on a way deeper level, but like I have so many hundreds and thousands of games with this team that like without really trying, all 3 of us are just like seeing the game at like a deeper level than our opponent is, and it can kind of make it really difficult because you can over respect things because you see something really obviously and you're like, okay, well that was really obvious. Surely they see it. But it's like obvious because we've played that game so many times. And it's like this person's 3rd time playing the matchup. And they're just like, well, if I tweak this one thing, maybe I can just win. And you just like overthink and get yourself into a really awkward spot. I've never been in a spot where like a team of mine is still really functional and I'm really good at it and I'm just bored. So it's a very unique feeling, but I think yeah, it's a good time to move on because I think like when you start, like, I've kind of lost that sort of creative feeling with the team, where now it's like all of the lines are so tested and so polished that I feel like it's almost never a winning play to do anything else. And every time I try to do anything else, it feels like it's not a good idea. So, and then that can also lead to just like autopiloting too much and not like and like having brain turn off syndrome, right? And like that can be really really
Mhm.
difficult to deal with. So I think for us it's time to move on, but hopefully people continue to do well. I know there's at least one person bringing it to Stockholm, so hopefully they do really really well.
Yeah, we have to let Mariana and Olga Spacha over there move on deep down to
Bessie.
They'll be back. They'll be
the
back. They'll be back.
the big old
Yeah, no.
sea. It's like
Yeah,
it does
I'm
feel
excited for Reg Eye
exhaustive.
double restricted. Maybe see what
Yeah,
happens and like, but no matter what Reg Eye is, I am just kind of excited to be creative again because
true.
yeah, we like Stefan and I basically for 3 months straight we're just talking over every single matchup like nonstop in
Yeah.
Discords and
Yeah.
just like there's nothing left to talk about.
Oh,
No,
like
yeah, it's like
everything's rehearsed. It's exhaustive,
Yeah,
and it's not.
yeah,
It's fun, but it's not fun.
yeah, like it's not
yeah.
exactly like one of the other things that I kind of forgot to mention back in the story time portion that I remembered after was one of the reasons why I actually came to this team was that I tried building stuff, and I've been of this opinion for like all of Reg G 2.0. Building in this format is incredibly restrictive, and it feels like there's very little you can do that hasn't already been done. Um, and I found that really boring. I tried for like 2 weeks to build new stuff. My favorite restricted is Eternatus. Tried really hard to make like 4 different Eternatus teams work. I thought I had the Ho-Oh sauce for a minute. I'm like, oh, like this is heat. I built Curum. I've built everything you can imagine, and they all just suck because the format is so figured out And it's like people know what is broken, and you can't break that with mons that are bad. So like I just wanted to go and explore stuff that I knew how to pilot, because I kind of just gave up on building, and I was like, all right, well, this is basically my team from Indy. Let's run it back, baby. And
Yeah,
it was
like
good.
Yeah,
I feel like all of New England felt that. It's like I see like I'm in like a few different team building servers, one of which I like main. And like the first week of January rolls around, Reg H is done, like okay, cool. What the hell are we using? It's like everyone just like spams Pokepace. I'm at work, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna build. It's like I like Cali Ice Cornerstone, but how am I gonna like innovate on it? And I couldn't. It's like I felt like I could barely innovate on that. And it's like, yeah, we're seeing new stuff and new partners, but it's like that was also what 2 months ago at this point, so it's hard to gauge.
yeah. There's been some cool teams to pop out of Reg G 2.0, like the Lunala team, which was kind of like a mix up of the tank team and
Bizon's
whatnot.
team, oh, it's so
There's
cool.
been some cool teams, but yeah, I remember like Stefan when he did reach out to originally, he was like, yeah, like I'm like 50-50. I'm working on Eternatus too. Like it feels really cool. Like also I remember you were thinking of running maybe Koraidon. Obviously I'm glad we ended up sticking with Kyogre, but
I think
yeah,
we did
I think
good.
the team did really well for all three of us, I think, to kind of push our seasons forward.
Basically, all
I
qualified for Worlds after this weekend when Tony gets a good GC finish.
Hooray!
essentially
Yippee! I love the GC.
essentially.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah, at the time
I
of
can't wait to
recording
play that
this,
after
it's
this call.
like
I'm actually
that's
really
torture.
excited. My team is so sick.
Yeah, I like my team too. None of us are using this team anymore. We all did
No.
use it in the GC before, but not
It
this
was
time.
exactly fine. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't. Just if people are watching this, there might be one more GC in Reg G.
Yeah.
If you need like safe low points, this team is pretty good. I think like
Mhm.
I feel like this team can pretty safely get you 35 with like very little effort, and it will struggle to go above 65. Like
Yeah.
it
35
will
is a
really
good
struggle to go above
baseline.
65 because it has auto losses in closed team sheet, not an open team sheet.
Yeah.
But if you get hit by like surprise Terra Ghost Specs Calyrex, you're like, oh okay, I guess I just die now. Like okay,
Yeah.
yippee.
Yeah,
Yeah, the team was
exactly.
way more fun to play in OTS
Yeah.
than CTS. The team, like you said, yeah, it was fine in CTS. But yeah, no, the OTS is definitely, I think, where
Yeah.
the team kind of shines. Yeah,
Yep.
and it did get
Yeah.
us all a ton of good finishes. We brought it to 8 majors total.
Oh, we
and
didn't talk about the combined
Yeah.
CP.
Oh, true. Dude, the
So
So
we
point
got
total plus Swiss is insane. It's
So
I don't even
what
know
was
if we
our
did the
combined
math.
total? Because like we were talking about this before the call a little bit. Like we wanted to add up what our combined total of CP with this team was. I think you said you got 520, Chase.
Oh, this is the worst time for him to stop
Oh
talking.
no. So I can actually just scroll up though, right?
Yeah,
Like
that works.
so yeah, well I can just look at mine because I know that Chase got 3 more CP with it than I did.
Yeah.
I got 517 CP with this team, which means Chase got 520. How much did you get, Tone?
I got 125 from top 32 at San Antonio. I won a challenge with it. God, I got 35 from last GC.
What did you get from UIC? That would have been like
That's
100?
80. No, I think I got 80 because it was top 512.
All right. So we're looking at 1,307 CP. Plus Chuppa, Day 2, Rowan Hall, and Scraw got points at EYC
Yeah.
with this team because they picked it up and they ran a couple changes.
That's insane.
So we're looking at like close to 2,000 points with this team if we include the others. Our group gets 1,300.
In a 2-month period for what, 3 people, not counting Chuppa, Rowan, and Scraw. That's insane.
Yeah,
Like,
1,307, Chase.
Thank you,
Ooh.
thank you. Yeah.
Not bad, not bad.
That's insane. No, we did good.
What's your? Do you guys know
retire.
what your Pokemon, like what your highest CP earning Pokemon this season is?
P2 by far.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Reg H was just, it was a rundown.
Yeah. Mine's Rillaboom. I have 719 points with Rillaboom.
I feel like that's really random.
Well, no, so it's this team, which is 517, and then it's my Baltimore team.
Yeah, you know what? That would do it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Mine
those two.
might
Oh,
actually
and my
be
Worlds
Rillaboom.
team, actually.
True.
Because my Worlds team, I got a little bit at locals, too.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
actually. Yeah, you guys can hear me, right? Just making sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Rillaboom might be mine too because I did bring it to Baltimore in a couple of GCs before this team was back, and then Rillaboom's been on this team for everything since. So I think Rillaboom was probably my number one this year as well so far.
All right.
Yeah,
Rillaboom P2.
As of March 20th at 9:36 p.m. EST, 2 Rillabooms, 1 P2. We'll take it.
And we'll see.
Are you gonna run P2 Palkia? One of my Twitch chatters said they were on P2 Palkia.
I don't know.
You have to get CP in this format with P2.
Oh, I
Otherwise
do.
You're not a real P2 fan.
In Reg G?
Yeah.
I can try.
Otherwise you're not a P2 fan.
But all my BFLs are filled.
Doesn't matter. Like, you just have to get points because they'll go towards the travel award that you're not playing for,
Right.
but there's still points. Like, you're not trying,
It
but they're still on
counts
there.
as points. Yeah,
They're
they're
listed.
still on there for sure.
I could bring P2 to Milwaukee. It might.
You don't have to get regional points with it. Just
I
like,
mean,
bring it to a local, brother.
Yeah, go to a local with it.
Okay, that's the deal. I'll bring P2 to a local. I'll make it work. That's easy. That's so easy. That's light work.
Yeah, just easy.
But yeah, no, we did good. We really did good. I think this was like,
I think
it was good and productive for all of us.
Yep.
We pretty much just got like a Worlds invite and a half with this with this point total for 2 months.
We'll say 2.5. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, you're right. 1.5 combined with 1,300.
Let's
I
not
don't
get
know if you guys
overzealous. I don't
mentioned
want to
this,
get past yet.
It was. I think it was tell me if we've already talked about this, but we brought it to 8 majors total, and we made day 2 of 7 of those, and then we had 2 top cuts out of those 8, and then there was only one of those 8 runs that we weren't only 1 win away from top cut.
Yeah.
So. What was that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
yeah. Like, we had 3 winning and losses, or I guess 3 X3s in day 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost
4 X3s because there were both of us chase in day 2 of UIC, Tony in San Antonio, and then me in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then me in Puerto Rico too.
Oh yeah. So 5.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's still
Which
really.
so, like,
that's really good.
Yeah. So we only did get. I wish we had gotten like one more top cut. I was really rooting for Pengy there at Vancouver, and obviously it's at UIC too. I didn't have a win in game there. I did go X3, but Stefan did have a win in there. I wish we'd gotten one more shot at top cut, but we were so close so many times too. In addition to the 2 top cuts we did have.
I wish I didn't face Dill round 1 of UIC.
Oh, you faced Dill round 1?
Yeah.
Oh man.
They were like on my res, and I was like, oh, this player's really good. They knew the line for Rilla instantly, so I was like, huh, okay, well, all right. And it wasn't like great. Like, I had horrible positioning because I was tired, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. But no, like, I got Dill's Discord, and I was like talking with them after the match. I was like, yeah, how did you just helping hand Draco'd? And they're like, oh yeah, like, you're a more offensive Rilla. And I was like, we didn't even play the game yet. Like, okay, that's fine. Like, GG's. But yeah,
it was interesting
that was
too
awesome.
because I heard them talk about how like hyper offense Kyogre was kind of a bad matchup for them. I think if I think if we planned out that matchup more, we definitely would have favorable matchup into that. But I can see why, like, on the spot, having no prep into like that kind of team and them playing it as correctly as they did.
Oh yeah,
really tough.
Like Sash, Darkfu, Banded Treads, Incin. I was like, oh, this is terrible. This is gross.
There's a lot. Yeah, Incin honestly can be really annoying for our team for like certain modes.
Yeah, like even with our Prio block, like, and a Kyogre and an Urshifu, like, Incin can be a little annoying.
Yeah,
but like. Sure. Even then, like, I think we did really good. Like, we really gave Kyogre a good send-off and really good results. And it's like, we're still seeing people pick it up. Like, I'm, like, reading Lobsy Lobby and New England VGC. And it's like, oh, hey, like, can we use X, Y, and Z off your team? Like, go ahead. I mean, if you want the team, like, we're doing a team report. Have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I want to also just give a big shout out to you, too. I ran a similar team, obviously, at Worlds, but getting to like plan and prep and play with the both of you was just so much fun, and it was fun to see all 3 of us
it was so fun.
really have good success with the team. I this was some of the most fun I've had playing VGC. I really enjoyed the run with this team.
Oh yeah,
So thank you
It's
both.
fun to be able to
Pokemon with friends.
play with like playing with a group is really fun. I like
Absolutely.
one of
It
the
was
things that I
awesome.
kind of missed in Reg H, because like most of the time in Reg H, I was the only person at the event running my team. I got to like build with people, which was really cool, but like Ethan wasn't able to come. I built a lot with Ethan Matos, and like he wasn't able to come to any events after Baltimore, and we also didn't build together for Baltimore. So like I was just kind of like the lone warrior outside at UIC when Dakota was there with me.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to actually get to like actually have a group project.
Oh yeah. No, we did good. We did good, lads. But yeah, I think it's time for Bessie, Gazpacho, and Mariana to retire.
Time for shout outs.
True.
One of my good friends, Tony, is offering coaching now. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
I didn't expect that one. I thought you were referencing another Tony. But I I am offering coaching, just little startup stuff. It's on my Twitter, Ares VGC, ARES VGC. Just trying to get people into the scene. That's like my main goal. Help players get better. That's pretty much it. Like I just want to help people play the game. Yeah.
I also offer coaching. You
Yeah.
can find both of our coaching stuff on Twitter, I think. Mine is at Pengy Twitch, and Anthony's is...
Use your Prime sub on Pengy Twitch.
Oh!
You didn't even do a Prime shout out, dude. You're
That's
lacking.
true. I don't really do Prime shoutouts, but I do have a Patreon now. We actually the EVs of the team are available. They'll be available in the description of this video as well. But like, if you guys want a bit of a more structured, detailed write up about like various game plans and like various matchups, there is a write up on my Patreon as well, which is patreon.com/PengyVGC. You can either subscribe as a tier 2 member, or you could just get the individual write up about the Kyogre team on its own without subscribing. That's also an option.
Help him fund regionals.
Yes.
Go sub. Chase, do you have any
Huge
shout
shout-outs
outs?
to both of them. I do not offer anything. I do not offer coaching. I do offer being your friend. You can just follow me at Main Marshtomp on socials and reach out for anything. But I definitely huge vouch for both of these gentlemen for coaching and Patreon and whatnot. They're both awesome and super good at the game and super insightful and just super nice, awesome people.
Both my pals.
We love you, Chase.
I love
you, Tony.
My friends. I love my friends. I think that's going to be it. I think we did it. It only took an hour and 27 minutes.
I yap a lot.
I was expecting this to go really quick, but the truth is, I mean, I love Pokemon.
No, I knew you were coaching.
Well, I was like, this is kind of just like I could talk about this for like a couple more hours, honestly. But I was like, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, we got some GC games to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do.
All right, I'm gonna send it off.
Good luck to the both of you, and thank you both
You
for all.
too, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you for watching.